I'm speaking to Beth Angel of the Connecticut Single Payer Coalition. Beth, this last week, Senator Baucus came out with his health care plan. What do you think of it?
I think of it as so many others are saying, it's a giveaway to the health insurance companies. They're taking our taxpayer money and shoveling it right to the health care industry. I also understand that one of the CEOs or higher-ups in Wellstone helped him write the bill. And
What's Wellstone?
Wellstone is a health insurance company much like Aetna or Cigna. So I don't think this is in the interest of, I don't think this is in the public interest. I think he's writing a bill in the interest of the health insurance industry. We all know that he's gotten over $3 million in campaign donations, and I think he's writing a bill for them.
Now, the so-called alternative we hear a lot about is the public option, where there'd be some kind of government-run health care insurance. But you don't stand for that. What is single payer?
Single payer is actually a healthcare system where one payer makes the payment to the hospital, the provider, the doctor, and that would be the government. And the big boon for single payer is that there's not the administrative costs as private health insurance, which is sometimes over 30%, and that's 30% off the premiums you pay. It's going to shareholder prices, it's going to advertising, marketing, CEO salaries of $11, $20 million an hour. So the first 30 to 40% is not even going to health care. It is a public option, but unlike the public option being touted in H.R. 3200, it is not run by the private health insurance industry, which is the way H.R. 3200 is set up, and they will still have control over our health care, which will not bring down our costs, will not cover the entire population as so many people want.
Now, when you talk about single payer to some people, they say, well, that's what they have up in Canada, and I hear there's long lines to wait for things, and people come down to the U.S. because they're so frustrated with Canada. What do you hear about it?
Well, I'm hearing that a lot of that is misinformation. Even if there were long lines there, and I'm not hearing so much of that, they deal with it. Whereas in our country, there are long lines here. So I just was talking with some people where they have to wait 8, 9 months to get an appointment with a doctor. To me, that's like a long line. But up in Canada, because it's run in the public interest, they're going to deal with any of those problems, where the private insurance company, they only deal with problems that get in the way of their big profits. So that's a big difference. And I also heard if people do come down from Canada to get care in the United States, the Canadian government sends them with a check, so they're not having to pay the big health bill like our people are having to pay through private insurance.
President Obama's Nobel Peace Prize is as phony as the plastic prize in a Cracker Jack box, full of empty rhetorical calories and poisonous substances. The Norwegian Nobel Committee completed its nominations process only 11 days after Obama took office, and chose him based on their own wishful assumptions of what he might do as president. In the real world, among his first acts was to present to the Congress the biggest military budget in the history of the world, to fund a United States Armed Forces that is more lethal and costly than all the rest of the militaries on the planet combined. A previous Nobel Prize winner, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., lamented back in 1967 that the United States was the greatest purveyor of violence in the world today. President Obama has expanded on that legacy of death and destruction. He now owns the conflict in Afghanistan and Pakistan, which has justifiably been dubbed Obama's war. He refuses to renounce the use of nuclear arms against Iran and presses relentlessly forward with the militarization of Africa through the steady buildup of the U.S. Africa Command, AFRICOM. The United States remains complicit in the ongoing genocide in the Congo, where at least 5 million people have perished in the corporate scramble for the region's natural resources. The Obama administration mercilessly hammers the people of Somalia, menacing that nation's sovereignty from the U.S. military base in Djibouti and inflaming tensions throughout the Horn of Africa. When Barack Obama declares that he is presiding over necessary wars, then those who seek peace must organize the necessary resistance to those wars. The world has waited long enough, no, too long, for President Obama to live up to the expectations of the 5 members of the Nobel Prize for Peace Committee in Norway. The Black is Back Coalition for Social Justice, Peace, and Reparations has taken on the responsibility to reignite a Black-led movement to resist this administration's war policies at home and abroad. Peace requires that the U.S. join the International Criminal Court and face the music for its own crimes against humanity. But peace and social justice also require an end to a nationwide U.S. public policy of police containment of Black communities. That's why the Black is Back Coalition demands an end to mass Black incarceration and the release of political prisoners. Peace requires economic security for the people and an end to bailouts for the banks. On November 7th, the Black is Back Coalition will rally in Washington, D.C.'s Malcolm X Park and then march on the White House. On November 7th, Black America begins to reassume its historic place in the forefront of struggle. On November 7th, the Black is Back Coalition serves notice that a Black president gets no free pass when it comes to issues of social justice, peace, and reparations. For information on the rally in Washington, go to www.blackisbackcoalition.org. Forget what Barack Obama said at the 2004 Democratic Convention. There is a Black America, and Black is back. For Black Agenda Radio, I'm Glenn Ford. On the web, go to www.blackagendareport.com.
Some bits of good news. Reacting to international pressure, petitions, and demonstrations inside of Palestine, PA President Mahmoud Abbas reversed himself and is now supporting the Goldstone report on Israeli conduct during its assault against the Gaza Strip last winter. Goldstone, a South African judge, concluded that Israeli soldiers deliberately targeted civilians, used Palestinians as human shields, and destroyed civilian infrastructure. Interestingly enough, Goldstone, who is a Jew, is also a Zionist, but this so-called Operation Cast Lead was too much for him, and he produced this scathing report. Norman Finkelstein says in the Jewish community there's a big split developing, that liberal Jews are increasingly deserting Zionist supremacy theory. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle.